Well, things just got a little bit worse, my friends. How we doing, everybody? There's a fire baking here in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, in case, I don't know, you haven't noticed. And, well, things just got a little bit worse with some extra fuel to throw on the fire with a Rogue One potential nerf happening. This game, man, it's a rough time here in Galaxy of Heroes land. Usually when we do like end of week kind of news updates, roundups, we want to get you excited, hyped for the weekend, but people aren't very hyped about what's been going on in Galaxy of Heroes lately. So we got a lot going on. Sit back, relax. We have a ton to talk about from the Rogue One investigation that they're going to be doing. Oh gosh, let me hold my thoughts for a second. We're also going to be talking a lot about Relic Delta, just kind of showing you the initial reaction that everybody's been having. And also, some of the feedback that I provided to Capital Games in their little forum, as you can see, it just says, don't do this. I tried keeping it as simple as possible for them here. And some other ironic things. As we said, this is very much so a derivative of Overpowered for Marvel Strike Force, and I'm going to play a bit of Mobile Gamer's video. The same day it was announced that Relic Delta was happening, Marvel Strike Force says they're kind of rolling back, rethinking they're overpowered. How ironic is that? Okay, well, we got a lot to do here today, my friends. And I say also we're going to talk about, petitions that are going around it. I'm just going to share thoughts in general about if you really want to make a massive change for the game. The power really is in your guys' hand. This is one way of doing it. I'm going to leave a link down below to this Stop Relic Delta petition. It doesn't hurt to sign this. Maybe it makes some sort of impact, but there are larger things that people can do if you really want to make a change, not even just for Galaxy Heroes, but any mobile game for that matter out there. So let's start up with the new fuel on top of the fire. So while people were boiling in this hot pot of a Relic Delta, Siege is like, oh, by the way, we might need to make adjustments to the Rogue One. So this kind of got buried when we talked about Rogue One. It's like, oh, this is the best thing that kind of happened this year for new units that got released, right? There was a lot of fun plug and play ways, usually it's Executor. It's like this crazy stuff that you can do with it. And of course, it was great for profundity. And I said, I could see a nerf happening. I said it probably is not going to be like this, where they aren't happy with how it's working against Leviathan. Let me read their words first before I put my loud mouth into this. So ships have always been a razor edge meta that is hard to make adjustments to without something inadvertently slipping through the cracks. CG, there are 3 fleets you just got to examine, especially if it was meant for Rogue One. You just got to look, or Profundity. You just got to look at Profundity, Executor, Leviathan. If this was maybe a plug and play unit and you're talking about the character meta and there are like 100 teams, okay, sometimes weird interactions happen. This ships is not a very complicated game mode. It's very easy, as we're going to talk about, to kind of identify what they just somehow identified here. With the release of Rogue One and with the elevation of Profundity over Executor, we want a simple, obvious update to the meta that players could get behind. This involves the continued superiority of Leviathan as the top fleet. However, we're seeing reports that the cracks are wider than we had originally accounted for, and we are investigating Profundity Leviathan matchups, as well as continually monitoring how both ships continue to fare against one another. So I appreciate they're giving us a heads up here, but now I got a few problems with this. First and foremost, as I said, this wasn't like a fun, like unique new trick that took like that one person figured it out. You guys saw my live stream. Within literally seconds of using the Rogue One ship, I'm like, oh, cool. I was able to beat Leviathan, right? Because with the Leviathan buff that happened, that made it harder for Profundity to attack on a turn. All right, as I showed, I was like getting 96% pre-Rogue One. And then with Rogue One, it was like, oh, this is super easy now. Only concerns might be a scimitar only reinforced, but other than that, it was clear within seconds, not just for me, but for many other people that, wow, this is a great way of beating Leviathan. Keep in mind, it was a very specific trick. It wasn't just like hit auto, we're gonna win. I'm like, okay, all right, Leviathan's still gonna dunk on Profundity when it's offense versus Profundity on defense, right? And if you're using Profundity versus Leviathan, it's an uphill battle. There's a bit of RNG, and there's a very specific strategy, but you can still pull off the win. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I thought, if anything, if they were gonna nerf the Rogue One, it would be for plug and play purposes, because CG is like super against plug and play nowadays. They got to hold our hand with every new unit they're bringing. And I thought maybe they would have it like this, where they would fix this unique ability where you couldn't stop, for example, enemy cooldown reductions when it's in the reinforcements. So this was a great way of plugging in an Executor, and if you're doing an Executor mirror match, the opposing punishing one wouldn't be able to get the death mark out. I'm like, okay, I could see them maybe nerfing that. Or there's other situations out there, for example, where if you look at the unique ability that we have here, if you enemy capital ship is Empire, increase the cooldown of non-capital ship enemies by 1. So it's like, I could see them maybe doing something like that because they had some good plug-and-play options. But now if they're affecting, it seems like they just don't want Profundity beating Leviathan at all. I will admit, the value of this Rogue One diminished greatly. Now, again, granted, this is a very usable ship, 3 stars, so it's not like a lot of people spend money on this, I guess. There was no real reason to spend money, unless you just want to bypass the farming, all that stuff. But now my problem is the following. If this isn't meant to beat Leviathan, and who knows, maybe we'll figure it out again. Oh, gosh. My issue is now the Rogue One isn't as interesting if it's just meant to beat Executors, because as we showcased the other day, kind of funny, it's really easy to get Executor to beat the Rogue One, offense and defense. And all you have to do, same Executor lineup, but instead of Executor lead at the Bounty Hunters, you throw in Home 1. So now we got a problem there where now the Rogue One just, it sounds like it's way too specific and it's still very easily counterable. So not as exciting of a ship. It was very nice to see, okay, we're going to maintain relevancy with Leviathan. This Leviathan thing is becoming a massive, I'm actually getting really annoyed. It was funny the first like 10 times. This Leviathan's getting incredibly annoying. Just released, I don't know, a Bast Lashan ship or something. This whole thing where you got to keep like, buffing, nerfing, it's getting incredibly annoying. And we all know this is going to lead to another Chimera nerf, right? Poor Chimera. I'm actually very surprised. Windu, for some reason, didn't catch any strays with the Leviathan buff. Still works fine for my experience. But anyways, I digress. I'm very disappointed in this. Again, ships is literally 5-10 minutes of just trying out the strategy before. Like, I don't know. As I said, they're kind of starting up the play testing again. I didn't get to test this thing in advance. Maybe things like this, they could acknowledge it a bit earlier with people that, I don't know. I don't know what their testing procedures like over their capital games. Well, maybe it's telling because now it's going to go into our, discussion on Relic Delta. Now, this is just a glance. I just read it for the past couple hours here. It's just I've talked to a lot of people from various backgrounds and, also people with different, I guess, propensities of spending, whether you're a whale, Kraken, free-to-play dolphin. I haven't met a single person that likes this whole Relic Delta feature. And I think I have a bit of a conspiracy theory, and I think I've seen it as well a couple other places, especially when you read posts. There is no way, this is what I want to bring up here. There's no way that CG is legitimately considering bringing out the 95% damage boost penalty, depending on what side of the Relic spectrum you're on. It just seems like you really are just trying to kill your game. If there is a video gaming license, it should be revoked because you are squandering, you are putting a bad taste in video gaming community's mouths. Well, I'm going to show my feedback later on. I wanted to bring this up because Relic Delta is very much so a derivative of Overpowered from Marvel Strike Force, as I mentioned. This is why it's good to play other games of this nature, because you can see, all right, this game took from this, that game took that, and that's how you make better games, right? You learn a little from all of them. Well, CG got the wrong memo. They picked the wrong thing. Overpowered came out to Marvel Strike Force earlier this year, and ironically, the same day Capital Games announced publicly that, hey, we're bringing Relic Delta, Marvel Strike Force announced the same day that they're going to be, kind of, I guess, re-examining it, putting it on pause, maybe rolling it back, maybe killing it completely. How ironic is that? So I just want to play a quick clip from Mobile Gamer's video. For those that don't know or remember, Mobile Gamer played Galaxy Wars up until 2020. Then he peaced out and he's been playing Marvel Strike Force and Raid Shadow Legends and stuff like that for a while now. But here, Gary, if you don't mind muting me for a moment, I want to show you what he said real quick.
Right, just through the roof. And they said that was going to come in Overpowered, and that's why they had to do Overpowered, is because the stats were getting out of control. Sounds like they heard the message that we hate Overpowered, but it also didn't do what they wanted to do. Right? He talked about that. He said it really didn't do what we wanted it to do, so they are rethinking that. Go.
Yeah, so this is the crazy thing. Same day. The universe works in weird ways, my friend. I feel like this is a sign for CG. And I am concerned, as you're going to see the feedback I gave them, they put I don't know how much time and effort, because this doesn't seem like a high effort type of feature. I don't know how their production pipeline works. I don't know. But this is something that they spent time and however much time, and especially if they're announcing it publicly, and we were told it's going to happen not this last Conquest of Maz Kunada, but the Khmer Conquest is when Overpowered is going to kick in. Well, it seems like it's going to happen regardless. So I'll share my feedback in a moment that I gave Capital Games. But what I want to make sure I share first is everyone's been sharing this petition on Reddit. I'm going to leave a link down below if you guys want to sign it. You know, right now it's got 3,400 signatures, and there are more impactful ways. And again, I'm not saying do this for Galaxy of Heroes, right? And I also want to say, wait until we actually see if it gets rolled out and how it gets rolled out. Then you can make that assessment after. But in general, in mobile gaming, and again, it doesn't hurt to sign a petition. This is not what mobile game developers are looking at the end of the day, or even the investors into the mobile games. They're looking at a few things. Obviously, money spent, and just telling people in your Reddits or Discord, even me, like, stop spending money, doesn't solve the problem, as we're going to show how many people play this game. Like, even myself, I don't wail on data crunch. I'll do my conquest because I'm already farming stuff. Anyways, I'm doing the feats. Okay, sure. But I don't spend money on data crunch. It's still here. It's still here. You need to get a huge amount of spenders to stop. And that's a lot harder to do if you really want to make a change and stop a feature from being rolled out. Well, the other option is this. I want to show you guys this real quick. I always look at initial acquisition for like a brand new marquee to kind of get an idea. What's the active player base still? As you can see, we have 220,000 people that got a 3-star Rogue One. So in total, what is it? It's somewhere south of 300,000 just from a quick tactical scanner analysis here. So we got, let's just say, about 300,000 active players in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, because if you got Rogue One within a couple days, you're kind of active in this game, and it might go up a bit more. You have some people that are stragglers, they'll come back in a couple days, maybe get their Rogue One, but that's about right, 'cause that's what we usually see for Grand Arena, about 300,000 people playing. Here's the thing, you got a couple thousand spenders here, yeah, but it's really, you guys. Yeah, people see, no, I don't spend money, I have no impact on the game. No, you do. What mobile game developers look at, number one, yes, of course, spending, but honestly, just as important, or even more so important, retention. They're looking at retention metrics. Are you still playing the game? How long are you playing our game? That is just as important for a lot of people out there than just spending money. And just say hypothetically, let's just say 219,000 people stopped playing the game. And these people don't really spend money, right? Again, we're making some assumptions. Maybe people got the memo, I don't need to spend money on this ship. So again, 200,000 some people, they just decide, you know what? Screw this Relic Delta, I'm not playing. I'm going to Marvel Strike Force, Raid, Ethereum, whatever. You're going to find another hero collecting if you really need another one to chew on here. That right there would send massive alarms to Capital Games that their players are leaving. We screwed up, because just us saying that, oh, we don't like this, it's the proverbial, how does it say? Oh my gosh, what's the proverbial saying? Actions speak louder than words is what I'm looking for here. I can say, and I'm sure I've seen you guys too. It's like, Datacrons suck. I hate Datacrons. But guess what? We're still playing it. So that means we don't mind it that much because we're still playing it. But if people start dipping because they absolutely hate Relic Delta, that is the surefire way to make massive changes in the game. And it's a lot easier than trying to, try to get spenders to stop spending. And it's not even the spenders' fault, because let me put this in context. We got about 300,000 people playing this game, right? Actively. Even myself, look at you guys see my YouTube videos, lately this year, especially on the slower years of Galaxy Heroes, about 30, 40, 50,000 people, they'll come and check in on a video, see what's going on in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. And again, super honored and privileged that you guys are still watching my videos on a mobile game 10 years later. And I feel like that shows maybe how many people are active on like social media things. I mean, this Reddit post was sharing a petition. They got 3,400 people. There are still, let's just add this, and then maybe there's other YouTubers, Twitch streamers, maybe they have unique viewers that don't share with me, they don't like watch me, whatever. Let's just say maybe there's like 80,000 people that are on Discord, Reddit, YouTube video. That still leaves another 220 some thousand people, right? If you just add all this up, that are out there. That's the big thing. That's why it's really hard to organize a massive change to stop a feature, because there are just so many people. They must live a peaceful life if they're not on Reddit, Discord, YouTube, right? Pretty crazy, right? You would think it'd be more than that are around here. Pretty crazy to put that in perspective. But even so, you don't need all 300,000 people to stop playing a game. Just even if, like, just say, I don't know, even if, let's say we took that 80,000, right? Let's just say every single one of those people, they hated Relic Delta so much, they stopped playing. That would send alarms over at Capital Games. So again, I want to make sure I emphasize, I'm not saying just stop right now. I'm not saying go to the App Store, start dropping a 1-star review, because we don't want to, I guess, burn the house down, because CG's being transparent with the community and they're letting us know this in advance. So that's why I'm making it clear. I'm just saying how you can make a change, but don't burn the house down until we actually see what's going to happen. If they bring out that 95%, well, then it's going to be chaos. But you know, there's a chance they could listen, and we don't want to scare Capital Games away from interacting with the community, asking for our feedback, because then it's going to go back to silence like it was for the past couple years, and you're just going to release it. We're going to get things like this where it's like, oh, well, we got to nerf this thing we just released because we couldn't spend 10 minutes testing it. So I want to make it clear. I am happy that CG brought this to the community's attention this early, something as bold as this. And I have a feeling, and I'm sure a lot of you guys too, have a feeling why it's so bold at the 95%. So I spent a little bit of time. They gave me a form to fill out. There's only 3 lines of feedback. I have a lot more to share, and I'll throw some others right now on the my thoughts on the feature. You know, I looked at a lot of your guys' stuff as well. Feedback number 1, I just put it plain simply, don't do this. This is not the solution to make your PvP interesting. This is not going to help out Grand Arena matchmaking problems, territory war issues. You need to add actual enjoyable PvP content, and then who knows, maybe afterwards you explore something like this. So that's my simple feedback. Just don't do this. The reality is I have a feeling they are going to do it one way or another. They put all this time and effort in. They announced it to the community. That means they're getting pretty close to launch. And again, TBD, subject to change. Their plan was to release this for the first conquest cycle of Khmer, the Stranger. So it seems like it's going to happen. And kind of like what I wrote here in feedback number 2, this kind of gives me Sonic the Hedgehog vibes, the live action movie. As you guys know, when Sonic first came out, when they showed the trailer, he was the ugliest son of a gun out there, period, hands down. I almost feel like my theory is that was intentionally bad, so it caused a massive uproar. Free publicity. Negative publicity is still publicity at the end of the day, and all publicity is good in a situation like that. Then they're like, oh, we heard your feedback. Here's our improved Sonic. And they may have already had that planned, right? And it goes to show, you know, it's like, hey, they're listening, right? They're engaged in the community. They're transparent. They love feedback. I have a feeling they're not serious about 95%. I think they just want to spark the controversy, get the publicity going, and get as much feedback as possible. And if that was the goal, you did it. You did a good job at that here. But even with that said, I still think they're going to do something similar where they're like, oh, we heard you guys, 95%. I'm glad you guys told us because we would have done it. We didn't think that was a bad idea. And then maybe they'll come back with 80% that people are going to be like, we did it, guys. We won. They heard our feedback. I don't know. It's like, you know, tariffs were the biggest conversation this year. And, you know, Trump would be like, oh, 420% tariffs. And they'd be like, no, please don't. And he's like, all right, I'll do 100% tariffs. They'll be like, oh, thank you. Thank you. It's kind of one of those, right? It's a bargaining chip is what I'm trying to say at the end of the day here. And I have a feeling that's kind of what they're doing here. And I think they're going to come in with something a bit lesser. And again, as like if you had to do it, right? They don't have to, but I'm sure in their minds like we have to do this. It's like, how else is this game going to be fun, right? I think, and I put this in quotations, reasonable, is maybe 5% difference per relic level. So at most it'd be 45%, right? If you're at Relic 0 fighting Relic 9. But if you're fighting Relic 5 versus Relic 9, instead of it being 95%, what is it? It'd be 20%. It's still noticeable, still annoying. The way to look at it's just like fighting another layer of a data cron with a lot of defense potential or a lot of offense on it. I still don't want it. I would think at the very minimum, that's more appropriate. I don't know. It's such a stupid feature to add. I don't know how much to make it clear. Another feedback I gave here is, again, this is more about how it implements in like all the systems that we're doing out there, right? Territories, Grand Arena, whatnot. My biggest concern is that I don't know if they should have a flat power boost or deduction in all of the game modes, like the same thing. Maybe they consider boosting it in certain game modes to its max, maybe PvE potentially. And there's problems with that conquest. A lot of people are worried that this next Khmer conquest is going to be an absolute pain at those higher tiers with Relic 8, right? Maybe they reduce it in PvP content, because if you're fighting other people and you're already facing a GP difference, a matchmaking problem, it already destroyed a lot of people's incentive to play Galaxy of Heroes for Grand Arena at least. So this is just going to compound on top of it. So maybe they explore something like that. I also think they should bring back GP matchmaking if they really want to do so. People with equal rosters are fighting each other. Again, that goes against Capital Games. They don't, or their motto, they don't want to penalize people with bigger rosters. They don't want to penalize people that spend more money. They want to penalize the people that aren't spending money. They want to penalize people that don't have as big of a roster. So I think that, again, if it had to be this way, you got to put the matchmaking back to where it was. Because I already know, looking at my free-to-play count, where most of my stuff is Relic 5, 3, couple 7s, and very few 9s, I'm already fighting 11, 12, 13, 14 million accounts. I'm not going to be able to do any damage. when I'm fighting these teams out there. And this adjustment stuff is more like just how it's actually like looking in game. Like there was no UI. Like I had no idea what the damage difference was between me and the other character I was attacking of higher or lower relics. So they need to have some sort of UI, like maybe a blue status icon, something that shows this character is going to get more or less damage boost on them. So besides, but there are so many other things. Listen, you guys know only 3 lines. That's not a lot of paragraphs. Maybe I should have put more in the feedback one. But maybe another way to make this easily digestible, fixing the relic economy, making it easier. It's sort of like Once Upon a Time stun guns, Carbanti, stun cuffs. Those are all basically Cairo level bottlenecks. And then they added Cairo techs on top of it. And guess what? Eventually they kind of alleviated it. It's a lot easier. I haven't had issues with stun guns, Carbantis, many moons now, ever since they added the guild store stuff. Awesome changes. Maybe they do something like that where it's easier to get to those higher relics, right? At the end of the day, you know, though it's an option at the table. But again, to keep it plain and simple, this game does not need a feature like this. And again, I showed there could be some silver lining, things like Relic 9 cups. There was a great meme somewhere over here that kind of show that, you know, Relic 9 cups are, yeah, right here, is going to do some work, right? So that's the upside of it. But I think by and large, even talking to top spenders, this is kind of more, this is a little bit more specific. Even top guilds, like this is gonna be a pain. It's already tough to make sure people have the new teams, the Omicrons, the mods, right? And even, gosh forbid, the Datacrons, which is a whole other can of worms, making sure everyone's got a Datacron, ideally with certain abilities on them, and then the stats, unfortunately. Very tough to coordinate with 50 people to do that. Now the relic difference is gonna make this even harder. And I think another thing I'm looking at too, one of my favorite things about this game is the social aspect of it all, right? I love when I hop on stream or read your comments about, you know, new teams or the grand arenas, whatever. And you guys see what I'm using. It's like, oh, I'm going to try that. Wow, that worked, Donald. Thank you so much. And it works the other way, where I'm playing my grand arenas. I was like, hey, try this out. And I'm like, whoa, that worked. That was pretty sick. I don't know if we're going to be able to really relate to one another. Like, how would I do, let's say, day 1 Hondo Onaka testing, right? You know, how are we going to learn about these characters? Use Hondo. Yeah, even Hondo thinks funny. I think he likes this Relic Delta. And I said this too. CG should use Hondo as like the puppet. That's kind of like if a baby's crying, you have a puppet. Elmo's like, oh baby, take your cough medicine. I don't know, something. They got to do that. Like, oh, you Galaxy of Heroes, Holotable Heroes. Oh, you're gonna love Relic Delta. They got to use Hondo as like the puppet to make us feel like, okay, Hondo said we have to take it, right? But the problem is, it's gonna be so hard to really say, hey, this character's good, this character's bad, because if I'm using a full Relic 9 team and I'm testing against Relic 5 teams, what do I learn from that? Or even vice versa. It's like, it makes things incredibly complicated to relate to one another. And Datacron's already made big cracks in that, where it's like, well, this works if you have this Datacron, or this works if you have this much stats. It's very hard to relate to one another in that regard. So I feel like it's really gonna inadvertently kill that social aspect. And I'm not gonna be like, hey guys, this character's good if it's at Relic 9. It's a mess. It's a mess at the end of the day. But anyways, I believe in my heart, maybe 95% chance. I want to hope and pray they just don't do it, so they scrap it. And maybe that was the plan too. Maybe they wanted to get massive PR points. And they're like, all right, guys, we're scrapping it. Okay, fine. That's gonna be huge cookie points. Fine. All right. But I think they're gonna implement it in one way or another. I feel confident, 95% confident. It's not gonna be 95%. But I'm hoping, kind of like, you know, I gave the tariff negotiating chip example. I'm hoping that it's not going to be like 80%, then we're going to pretend we're happy about it. It's like, oh, because they listened to our feedback. It's a tough spot. This is going to be a massive problem, and I hope CG just looks on the other side of the pond. I don't know if maybe they just copied Marvel Strike Force, and they were like, oh, okay, we're going to give that a whirl. That seems nice, right? Listen, the universe works in mysterious ways. The fact that your announcement lined up with this announcement about they're overpowered, that says a lot. Very odd. Isn't that the case? Well, anyways, people, I'm already rambling enough here. I appreciate you guys stopping by with me. Again, keep the feedback going. I'll leave a link to that petition. It does not hurt to sign that petition. There are a lot of ways that we can make a change in Galaxy Heroes, and first and foremost is all this feedback. I'm pretty sure CGC, you know, a lot of it. They get the memo about what this is going to bring to the game, and then we'll see what possible changes that they're going to bring to it. I'm assuming we're going to see something within the next month. Anyways, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe, and whatever's going on in Galaxy Heroes, I can promise you one thing. Around this part of town, well, let me just say that it's great to be in the Empire today.